again for joining in the session. And thank you, Aishwarya, for joining here as the speaker today. And I'm really excited for the session and to learn more about the creating portfolio as a writer. And firstly, we can start with a brief introduction of yours and then move ahead with the session.
Sure, sure, sure. First of all, thank you everyone for joining, especially in the evening. And thank you, Harshita, for inviting me for this session. I think creating portfolio is a very crucial topic, and a lot of people do not know its importance, or either they don't know how to do it, or either they do not know how to present a good portfolio. So I'm here to clarify every single doubt about it, and thank you, Bhubaneswar, for my wishes. Today is actually my birthday.
Yeah,
So a little
I
bit
was about
about
to
me.
I was about to wish you for the birthday. So very happy birthday to you, Aishwarya.
Thank you, Harshita. Thank you,
Okay.
everyone. So yeah, Harshita, can you go to the next slide so I can tell about me? Sure. Thank you. So, hello everyone. This is Aishwarya, and I am a content writer and a social media growth consultant. I have been working in this particular field for the past 5 years, and I have worked with a lot of clients, especially globally. And I also take coaching classes for beginners to help in their career who are stuck in their career. And that is about me. So, let's dive into the session. Uh, Next slide, please. So today's agenda, this is what we are going to discuss briefly today. So the first and foremost question, what is a portfolio and why do you need a one, especially as a freelance writer, why you need a portfolio and what is its purpose? And once after you realize what is it, we are going to discuss about how to build a great freelance portfolio and what should be included and what should not be included in your portfolio, because there is always a confusion with resumes, CVs, and portfolios. So I'm going to clear all those doubts today, and I'm going to also take you to all the platforms that you can use to build a good portfolio. Yeah, let's go to the next slide. Okay, so I just want you all to imagine that you want that particular house. You can see a beautiful mansion there, and this is actually a small analogy like why you need to have a portfolio. So basically, every person, every freelancer, a writer, or a graphic designer, or whatever a freelancer may be, they want high ticket clients, they want clients who are retainers, they want clients who obey and who value our work, value the things that we put in our work. So if you want to reach this particular client, like let's say that is the house, you need to cross through this gate, and this gate is actually like a portfolio. Only when you have a good portfolio, when they see that good portfolio, the watchman who's there in the mansion will open the gate to you so that you can get into the house. So basically, your portfolio is your gate to your dream client. The next slide, please. Yeah, Harshita, next slide. Yeah, thank you. So, what is a portfolio? I have given the ready-made textbook definition that I saw in the Google here, and I'll be explaining what I would tell portfolios. Basically, a portfolio is you have your best works featured in a portfolio. That is what a portfolio basically is. So, it is basically an effective medium where you can show your skills and expertise to your potential employers or your dream clients and convince them why you should be qualified, why they should actually choose you for that particular position. It will be distinguishing you from other candidate, and hence it optimizes your chance of getting hired for your ideal job. So this is where you have to know what is a resume and what is a CV and what is a portfolio and how each of these are different. Basically, a resume is in a precise format, to help help the HR or the person who's deciding to fast forward their recruitment process. While a curriculum vitae is basically 1 or 2 pages long, where you'll be discussing a lot about every single thing that you are not able to add this in a resume. But a portfolio, unlike a resume, it doesn't serve as a replacement for a resume, but it supplements a resume. You will have all the best works of yours. If you are a graphic designer, you will be having the best works that you have done. If you are a writer, you'll be like adding the best, or the what to say, the works that are very much appreciated, the works that got you a lot of clients, or the works that got a lot of views, if it is in case of vlogs. So that is what you will be like featuring in your portfolio. A resume, it serves as a great purpose when it comes to providing a general impression about your life or your current work experience. But what if someone really wants to assess your work in real time? In other words, like, how does your work really looks and feels like? This is what a client will be looking like. If you are applying for a full-time job, a lot of people do not ask portfolio. They'll be just asking some work samples, and that's fine. They'll be like, the first question they'll be asking you is send your resume. But if you are a freelancer, only rare clients will be asking you your resume. Everyone will be asking you your portfolio. So basically, they want to analyze how your work really looks and feels like, and how good it is in terms of what they are looking for. And also another vivid differentiation is a portfolio, unlike a resume, it consists of images, vectors, and other pictures that makes it very more perceptive to your eyes, and it actually helps them to evaluate your work in the action. Yeah, can we go to the next slide?
Yeah, Aishwarya, I just want to share one incident here. Yesterday,
Okay.
I was on a call with a client,
Okay.
and I have sent him the portfolio before, like the work samples of mine. But
Okay.
then, when we were in the meeting, he or like she said me to share the screen and to show
Mhm.
my best works to them, right?
Okay.
So this was like a new experience for me, where the client told me to show their best works out of the ones I have sent them. So
Okay.
that is like, here I just want to say this thing, that the portfolio is not all of your works that you have done. It is some of your best works
Yeah.
in the particular field that shows your expertise and your skills, right?
Exactly, exactly. Like, just because you have written 100 blogs or 100 articles doesn't mean you have to put every single thing there.
Right,
Only the best works.
right.
Yeah.
And as I said, sometimes the client also tests, like, what are your best works according to you. So
Hmm.
yeah, this can be one of the things that I've
Question
done.
is, okay. Yeah. So, how to build a portfolio? Now that Harshita has also added some valuable insights to this session, like, I'm gonna dive into how to build a portfolio as a freelancer. Basically, as she said, you should only add your exceptional works. Don't add a lot of works. I know that, like, if you have experience, you must have written a lot of things, and especially in the beginning years. Like, I did the same particular mistake when I started during my first year of freelancing. What I did was, a person asked me for a portfolio, and I kind of sent more than 20 to 30 samples. Whatever I have written, I have like added all those links in a Google Drive, and I sent it to that person. That is something that you should never do. See which of the works you have done are exceptional or of good quality, and add those things. Like, especially published works will be preferred. But if you are a person who's very new to content writing, who doesn't have any clients, and you are, starting out, what you can actually do is start like, write some dummy projects. Like, imagine if you have a dummy project, and write some mock projects, like mock blogs and mock articles. For example, let's say you have chosen a beauty niche, and you want to land clients through that, and you are a complete beginner who doesn't have any work experience or blogs and articles to showcase your work. So what I want you to do is create 2 to 3 blogs in your niche that you are going to apply to, that you're going to reach out to, and create those things. Make sure it is very good, make sure it is, exceptional, so that people do not see the years of experience and see the work quality and hire you. And always have at least 3 samples of your work attached. Just because we said you do not need to have a lot of samples doesn't mean you should just have only 1 or 2 samples. Make at least 3 is good. 3 to 5 samples, that is very good. Just add at least 3 samples, and you can use different platforms to showcase your expertise. You have a lot of things. I even saw a question about Google Docs. So Google Docs is also another platform. There is also a lot of platforms that you can especially use to have a portfolio. Can we go to the next slide, please? And this is one common question that we all have, right? Like, especially when you start, or even experienced writers have this question: what should I include in my portfolio? What should I omit in my portfolio? As like basically, as I said, a resume, CV, and portfolio are like three of them are different. Resume is like a short, crisp details of what you did, and all the experiences and stuff will be there. All the skills, stuff, everything will be there in your resume. But when it comes to your portfolio, you don't need some unnecessary details. People do not want to, like, let's say you are a writer. Most probably everyone here is looking to be a writer. So I have done a degree in, like, let's say fashion and technology. I don't need to put that. It is not even relevant to what I'm doing. So you don't need to include your educational details and stuffs like that. So I want you to include all these details. Like, first of all, your speciality, what your niche is, and what are the things that you have done in your niche. Examples of your work, like as I already said, the examples that are very exceptional, the works that are very exceptional. And like what I'm meaning by exceptional is like those blogs or articles that have performed very well. That is what I am asking you to tell, like provide context. If I'm choosing one particular blog, I'm going to choose one particular blog, and if I'm going to use it in my portfolio, tell them like what were the results that that came out of that blog. If the page views of the website increased just because of that blog, if the shares were increased, or if that particular work was featured on something, these are some worthwhile mentions that you have to add these in your portfolio. So this will help your clients to understand your work and how everyone loves your work. And your about page or bio should be included if you are using a website, especially if you are using a website for your portfolio. I want you to have an about page or bio. It needn't be a long story. You don't need to tell them every single thing about your life and stuff. I just want it to be like make sure it is very short and crisp, and it actually showcases your relevant skills that are related to what jobs or what clients will be looking for. And testimonials is something that everyone should have, because like if you are, like, let's say if you are a beginner, if you do not have any testimonials, that is fine. But if you are an experienced writer, I want you to have the testimonials that you have got from your previous clients or previous internships, because nobody trusts a stranger, right? So I have actually seen a lot of people copying the works and just adding them in other people. Like they ask the portfolio of writers just to see how it is, and they just copy the work and they paste it in their portfolio and they showcase it. I have even seen some creators complaining about that. So I want you to add testimonials. If you have some testimonials, go ahead and add them. And the very important thing that we are like showcasing in your portfolio is, I do a good work and I want you to hire me. So that is our main motivation. So always give a strong call to action. Why do you want to have a portfolio? Like, why are you sending a portfolio? To make your client like the work, and so as to, like, get that client into things. So I want you to have a very strong call to action, and that call to action should be directed towards your contact information. So always have an easy to find contact information. It can be your WhatsApp number, your mobile number, email ID, or even your social media platforms in which you're active. And you have some stuff that are worth, like, even if a client sees that, they'll be like, okay, if you are okay with your clients watching that stuff, then go ahead and add those details. If not, do not add all the social media platforms that you're in. Yeah, let's go to the next slide. So these are the platforms that is widely used. I'm gonna like explain every single thing. Personally, what I use is the simple thing. Like every single time when I feel like I have to send a portfolio to a client, what I usually do is, for particular niches, I have a Google Doc. I have a drive where I'll be like just sharing 3 to 5 links of my best published works, and then I'll be like sharing the link to people who are like wanting to see that thing. And another, it is actually a very simple way. Anyone can have a Google Doc and anyone can use that thing, and you just have to share the link. You just have to add your contact information and share it in your mail, or let's say a WhatsApp number, or in the LinkedIn chats, whatever is suitable for you. And PDF format is also another thing that everyone uses. What you have to make it very crisp. And as I already said, and as Harshita said, do not actually put a lot of links and put a lot of works inside it, just your exceptional works, and add those things. You can even, if it is published in a website, you can be very creative, and you can even took a screenshot of where your like work is, which part of your work is very good, and which part, like the number of likes that it got, or the statistics that your client got after that work was published. You can even add those things in your PDF format. And for website, there is actually two things. Either you can go for a free one, or you can go for a paid one. The free one is basically Wix. Wix is actually a wonderful platform. Anyone can create a website with Wix. Wix is very easy, and like even if you go now and just spend 30 to 40 minutes, you can easily create a website. And when it comes to website, like let's say Google Docs or PDF format or Linktree, you do not need to add your about section, or the works that you like, the skills that you have, all those things elaborately, like you don't need to mention. But when you're using a website, it can be a free one or a paid one, you have to have an about section. You have to like tell people what are the services that you provide, testimonials, the work samples, the call to actions, and the contact details. So every single thing that we discussed in the previous slide should be included in a website. But when it comes to PDF format or Google Docs or Linktree, you needn't include all those details. Only your work samples, the call to actions, and your contact details and testimonials, of course. So WordPress is like, if you are like doing very good and you have a website for yourself, you can go ahead and use that particular website as a, a portfolio. And Linktree is actually the best. All you need to do is like you can also get creative when it comes to Linktree. It's just adding your best works in a link. Like let's say if you are a writer who writes in two different niches, it can be health and wellness, and let's say pets, about pets. So what you can do is in Linktree, you can like create two tabs, and in each tab you can add just 3 to 4 best works of yours in the Linktree. And in Linktree, you can even use some different types of gradients and colors and different types of visuals there. And it is very simple. You don't need to spend 30 to 40 minutes creating a website. Like you spend a lot of time while you create website. But when it comes to Linktree, it is very easy. Anyone can create using that. And another thing that I use is your LinkedIn profile. Like your LinkedIn profile is your best portfolio. You have your recommendations there, you have your skills and expertise there, and people can even see the way you write, the way you post stuff. And so what I would suggest you is, if you have a very good LinkedIn profile or even an Instagram profile, in case if you are a person who is also a writer and a graphic designer, let's say, so you can share even your social media platforms as a portfolio to your users. When I started, I used to do that, and that's actually a wonderful way to use social media platforms. And people also see the way people, like other people, react to your particular post, how people are like whether people are liking the way you write and stuff. So you can even use social media as a portfolio. Yeah, can we go to the next slide? So this is what I said about Linktree. So basically what you hear is just a mock-up example. You can see some potato recipe. So here you can actually add one work sample here, and you can add another work sample or a niche, and you can add another tab saying contact information for quick contact. How should they contact you? So all those details can be put in a very precise format, and here you can add your profile picture. You can even add your social media links. You can even add your published work. So Linktree is actually very simple, and it also looks elegant. If you guys haven't tried it, I would urge you to try it, because it's very easy. Like for PDF or creating a website, you need to think. There is also some graphics involved. You have to be very creative and stuff. But when it comes to Linktree, it is very easy. Anyone can use it. And social media platforms is also like, once you have an established, if you have a good personal branding on your social media platforms, you can go ahead and use that as a portfolio. And I want you all to have certain things in your mind. Like the portfolio, it represents the best pieces of your work. So I'm telling you again and again, just because a person asks your portfolio, do not add every single piece of your work. Just put the best pieces of your work. Make sure you only select those samples that will make the client think, okay, this is the right person for that work. I have to hire them. And if you are adding pictures in your website, or if you're adding pictures in the PDF for your portfolio, make sure they are wide and vivid, and they are not blurred and stuff. Make sure it is very crystal clear. And every description of your work that you're giving in the website or other forms of portfolio, make sure it's precise and to the point. Do not go ahead and like weave a web of essay there. Make sure every single thing is precise and on point. Yeah, the next slide. These are some tips that I do, and I want you all to steal these tips. So, if you after you finish your portfolio, just look at your portfolio in the point of your client's view. Are you speaking about yourself, or are you speaking about what the client wants? What we all do is, like, when we are involved in some creative process, sometimes unknowingly we start speaking only about ourselves and stuff. But what the client is requiring is, they want a person who can solve their problem. They want a person who can help them reach a particular target. So that is what they have in their mind. They don't want to know about you. So take a look at your portfolio and make note of what are the places where you're talking about yourself, and change those things. You should talk about your client, and you should be addressing their problems. And whenever you see something where you're speaking only about yourself, try to rewrite those things and use visuals as much as you can, because in a resume you will not be able to use visuals and designs and stuff. But when it comes to your portfolio, you can use your creative skills. That will actually attract the client. It will show the work that you put in your like, if you're putting a lot of work in your portfolio, imagine the client will be thinking, okay, if she or he is putting this much amount of work in just a portfolio, imagine the work they will be doing for our work. So that is how a client's mind works. So always use call to action, and clickable links is actually very good. Just like, there are people who just type the links, and they do not add the clickable links. Clickable links are very good, and even you can use it in the Canva. Canva is the best platform that you can use for clickable links. Yeah, let's go for the next slide. Now I'm ready for questions. Go ahead and shoot every single one of them, and I'm going to answer everyone.
Okay, so I'll communicate each question to you, and then you can answer that, right?
Okay.
Okay, so Deepthi asked, can we even add our certificates in our portfolio?
Okay, so basically, certificates are something that we add in your resumes and CVs. We do not add certificates in our portfolio. But if it is something that is very worthwhile, or if your client is looking for that particular certification in you, that time you can add a certificate. Apart from that, I don't think you need to add certificates in your portfolio.
Okay. Arushi asked, I am a content writer. Should I have my work samples in PDF format or document format in my Google
Okay.
Drive?
Okay, this is actually a wonderful question, Arushi. I want you all to have your work samples in the PDF format. Like, even if you're sending it, like if you're sending it in the doc format, what happens is, sometimes people tend to, just control the C and control the V in other people's website. I have had some experience with that. So every single time you send a work sample, try to put that in, convert that into a PDF format, and share that PDF's link there. You can even share PDF's link, so
Right.
try using that.
Next question is, we only have the links to my works.
What else? You should actually add your social media platforms. Like I said, you can add the links to your works, and if your LinkedIn, especially, if your LinkedIn is very good, you are adding a lot of valuable posts there. And if you think, if a client goes to your LinkedIn profile, they'll be impressed, and they'll be like, they'll be able to understand the way you work. You can even add your social media platforms link, but make sure your platform, the social media platform, that the link that you're sending is good, very good.
Right, and I guess it can even be like tweaked a bit according to the client. Like, if we are going for a LinkedIn profile, like the client is for the maintaining the LinkedIn profile, then I guess we can add our profile to so that client will get to know that he or she has maintained his profile, so maybe he can work on my profile as well,
Yeah.
right?
And the one thing that I always do is if a person is looking for, let's say, if a person is looking for Quora answers, and if you are a Quora creator and you have been writing a lot of valuable questions and you're putting valuable questions and answering in like good in the Quora, you can even share that thing as a portfolio. If
Right.
a person is looking for LinkedIn revamping, or if a person is looking for LinkedIn post, you can share your profile or your client's profile, show them how it was before and how you have changed it.
Right. So
Yeah.
basically, it is giving the specific portfolio, specific samples to the client that he or she may be looking for.
Exactly. You don't need to beat around the bush and show them other samples at all.
Everything. Right. Okay. So Pratham is asking how to ask client for testimonials as a beginner.
Okay, okay. So another thing that after seeing this question, I also got this thing in my mind. If there is any ghostwriters here, I want every one of you to communicate with your client before itself. Like when you are going to write as a ghostwriter, you will not have your name published anywhere. So tell them that I'll be adding these things in my portfolio. And to answer the question of Pratham, like what I would always suggest you is always have a contract and always have clear communications with your client and tell them beforehand itself. If I'm going to work for you, these are my charges, and I'll be asking a testimonial for you from you after the work is over. It can either be a LinkedIn testimonial or a WhatsApp or even a video testimonial. But make sure, tell the client beforehand that you will be asking for a testimonial.
Okay. Like it's better to clear at first only.
Exactly, like because there are people who might think, who might not want to give you a testimonial, and you can even sort these things out in the beginning itself.
Okay. Right. So can a blog double up as a portfolio?
Of course, it can only when it is in your niche. If your blog, if I'm going to apply for a health and wellness, I want to, get a client in the health and wellness. And if my blog, the blog that I'm having, and I'm writing about the same niche, you can as well use that blog. That is the perfect portfolio that you need.
Okay, great. Pratham again asked, is LinkedIn growth is very important for beginner content writer? If yes, what if the LinkedIn growth is less?
Okay, LinkedIn is actually an amazing platform, and what you need to do is if you're consistent with LinkedIn, you will get growth. As you know, even if you're a beginner content writer or whatever job title you have, LinkedIn is the best platform that you can get for for lead generation. And since you are a beginner content writer, what you can actually do is start posting valuable contents that will resonate with the audience, the contents that will show people that how you write and the way you write. Even you can speak about your writing process, every single thing. LinkedIn is actually a very best platform to showcase the way you write. So as a beginner content writer, you can use LinkedIn to post a lot of things. Even if you're not comfortable with posting at the start, you can add valuable comments in other creators' work. You can even get clients through commenting valuable comments in other people's work. And LinkedIn growth initially will be less for like it actually applies to all social media platforms. Initially, in every platforms, you will not have a sudden spurge of growth. You will not have a lot of followers and connections. But with time, when you provide valuable content, when you provide some stuff that is either educating or entertaining, since we are on looking for writing opportunities, I don't think a lot of people will be posting about entertaining. Like you can use memes, of course. So like when you put some valuable contents that are useful for other people, automatically you will be getting a lot of followers, automatically you'll be getting a lot of connections, and start engage with your audience. That is very crucial. There are people who create LinkedIn account, they post just for the sake, and they do not engage with the other creators or other people in the community. So I want every one of you here to take at least 5 to 10 minutes every single day to comment on other people's posts or engage with your connections or people whom you are looking to connect with. That way you can actually increase your LinkedIn growth.
Okay, so I guess he has got an answer to the question. And for more, you can check out Aishwarya's profile, and
Yeah.
she has maintained it really well. And yeah, going forward, if you have no experience in copywriting, what to add in portfolio as past work?
Okay. If you are a complete beginner who doesn't have any experience at all, if you don't have any work samples at all, I want you to imagine a mock project. Imagine if a client is asking you to create a web page or create an about page for their copy, like start imagining stuff and start writing. You can even use Canva like for creating a web page, and then you can have a layout and then write those stuffs out, and then you can add all these things in your portfolio. Not If you are not an experienced content writer, if you are a beginner, you will not have a lot of work, or you will not have a testimonial. So you can use mock projects and mock stuffs, and then you can project it as your portfolio. Tell the people like. Especially if you are a freelancer, they'll not be asking your experience. They'll be like looking at your work. What is the work's quality? Then they might ask you, and even if they ask you, you can go ahead and tell them that I am a fresher, but this is how I write. This is this is how my work will be, and these are some mock projects that I created for getting or landing clients.
Okay. As an absolute beginner, how about a dedicated blog for portfolio, having various tabs inside for various niches I write?
Yeah, you can do that. Since you are using your blogs as a portfolio, I want you all to make sure you write only the best contents out there. If you're using your blogs as a portfolio, you're just gonna send the website link. If and you have told that you are going to be writing about various niches. Like for example, let's say I'm gonna need a writer in the technique. I'm gonna need a technical writer. So you also have a tab regarding to that, and you have some excellent blog there. But if you're just sending me the website link, the general website link, I'll not be interested in seeing all these things. What you can do is go to that particular tab and send that particular tab's link alone. Don't confuse your client, like saying that I work this, I also work about that, I do this work, I do that work. Don't confuse your client. Just give them their straight ahead answer. If you're asking for a portfolio from a technical writer, just your technical samples alone. You don't need to send every single thing. And as you are using your website as a portfolio, make sure your contents, every single piece that you write there is very good.
Okay. So Shweta asks, any good YouTube channels or person or website you follow on social media who can explain more on portfolio and anything useful for writers, like basically resources that you have?
Okay. I think Shreya Patar is actually Shreya Patar, Kumal Ahuja. They are people like they post stuffs about freelancing and freelance tips. You can go ahead and follow them. And I guess Saheli Chatterjee is also another good person you can use for resources. She also has a YouTube channel.
Right. So you can follow these three people on Instagram, and yeah, Sahili has a YouTube channel as well.
Yeah.
Okay. So do articles written in college or college magazines count as content?
Of course, it counts as a content. It doesn't mean if you have done that piece and if it is very good, you can even add those things as a portfolio. You can tell them that this is the work that I have done in the college, and from what your client will think is okay. This person has had this talent just from the college itself. That is how your client's mentality works. So you can even go ahead and add those things in your portfolio.
Okay. Someone asked that is it okay to have three or four niches, or does it look bad?
What I would suggest you is if you are a writer, you can experiment with a lot of different niches to find what you are comfortable with. Like only after years of practice, you'll be able to know which particular niche is good, which particular niche you are comfortable with. Sometimes you might think, I can write on that niche. I love that niche. But when you write, you will not be able to deliver the contents what your clients or what your audience are looking for. And it is perfectly okay to have three or four niches. But what happens is if you narrow down to a niche, you will get a lot of clients, and with time you can charge good rates.
Okay. Question is how to get more clients.
Start personal branding yourself on LinkedIn, on Instagram, or even on Twitter. Once you start personal branding and once you start telling people that you are a writer and showcase the work, especially it is very possible in LinkedIn. You are telling them as a writer and you create content, and that is the perfect way to show them that you are capable of writing. And you can also like cold email people. Like cold emailing means if you think I can send one email and I'll get a client, that is a no-no. You have to get, like if you're sending at least to 10 or 20 people, you'll get one response or two response, and you can convert them into client. So cold emailing works, and LinkedIn is the very best platform for personal branding, and even through Instagram you can get clients.
Okay. What are services that in content writing industry is currently high in demand?
I think like people who write about bitcoins and finance and technical niches are like currently now in demand, I guess. And mental health is also like, these are niches that people think do not have a lot of opportunities, but they are the niches that gets a lot of clients. There are people who approach you one, especially in these niches, that you think, okay, nobody's going to write about it, nobody's going to speak about it. So these are some hidden niches that everyone is looking for hiring people, and especially the finance niche. Not everyone knows about finance. Not everyone, even like I'm not so good when it comes to finance or technical niches. So people always, like, you always have high demand when it comes to technical and finance niches.
Deepti asks, can we create a portfolio in Word document and later convert it into a PDF? Definitely, you can
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah, basically, like to convert, like you have to create your document in a Word, and then only you'll be like able to convert it into PDF. If you go to the Google Docs itself, like in the online platform, you have the option as save as, and you can just save it as a PDF and then share a link, or just do the work in the Word document, and then make, like, convert it into PDF. And if you're converting it into PDF, like try to see if you can ask, like put some shareable links, clickable links.
Right. Okay. How to approach new clients and how can we gain presence and visibility?
Okay. So first questions, how to approach new clients. The what you have to do is, like, let's say if you have a health and finance niche and you want to approach a client, what you need to do is go ahead and research about blogs that are like writing about this particular niche. See how they are, like, most probably there are many blogs, they are like accepting the guest blogs and stuff, and they also pay you good amount. So you can see which are the platforms or which are the things that they are, like, looking for guest blogs and stuff. And then you can look at their website, see other articles or blogs, how they have written stuff, what is their like process, or like if you compare one or two or three blogs, you can see if they have any particular structure there. And if you go to write for us, there will always be a write for us page in these kinds of blog. And in that you can see what are their expectations and how they want you to craft the content, and like how to contact them. So every single detail will be mentioned in these write for us page. If you do not have that type of blog, but you want to write guest blog, like write a guest blog for them, what you can do is, fine, go ahead and see the contact us page, and try to see if you can see who the person is owning that blog. If you can see the person's name in about us, search them on Google, search them on LinkedIn, get in touch with them, give them a connection request, say them that you're interested in writing a blog for their page, and then you can earn through that also. Another thing is for cold emailing, what the same thing applies for here too. What you need to do is just find out which are the platforms that are actually like accepting new writers to contribute. That is the way you can get some new clients. And if you are doing personal branding, if you are gaining a lot of presence and visibility in the social media, you don't even need to approach new clients. You will be getting a lot of inbound leads from that itself. And to gain the presence and visibility, again, I would ask you to go for LinkedIn. LinkedIn is the best platform for doing that. Start creating valuable content, start engaging with the community, and you will gain the presence, and you will have the visibility. But you have to be very consistent. That is something that has to be there for every single platform.
Okay. Hope it answers the question. Next we have, what are the niches that you love writing?
Okay, yeah, health and wellness is one of the niche that I love writing, and of course about pets. So that's why I, like, repeatedly told about those niches. Those are the niches that I love writing.
Okay. How does content strategy work in marketing?
Okay, that's actually a good question. So basically, content strategy is, it is actually an ongoing process. People think like you can sit in one go and finish all the content strategy and use it for marketing. It is actually an ongoing process where you will have some business objectives and goals. If you sit with your client, you can find what they are looking for and what they want to achieve from there, and then you can use that for marketing. Basically, your every single thing you write, every single thing we do as a content writer or a copywriter does go into the purpose of marketing. Especially the copywriters, we all write for marketing, right? So what you need to do is, like, for a content strategy, you have to establish your goal first. You have to be very clear why you are doing that. For that, you have to sit with your client or with the person who's in the head of that, and then you have to discuss every single thing. Then you have to establish your key performance indicators, and you have to understand what your audience are expecting. You have to know your audience, like whatever it is. Even if you're writing for a blog or for, let's say, an article or whatever it is, even if it's a social media caption, you have to know who your audience are and what they are expecting from you. And in content strategy, you have to know your audience. You have to have the audience persona with you, like what age are they, what content are they expecting, what is their pain points, and how can your brand like help them. So these are something that you have to have in every single thing. Then figure out the best content channels. In which channels are your audience like there? Are they in LinkedIn? Are they in Instagram? Are they using just Google? Are they using YouTube? So what are the platforms that your audience are? And use those content channels for your marketing. And decide on the different content types. You can go for different content types, and accordingly you can come up with a strategy. And the most important thing is, like, once you have done all these things, once you establish all these things into place, always measure the results. What, like, only then you will be able to know which worked and which doesn't. And then you can accordingly change the strategies and stuff that you use in the next type of thing that you're doing.
Okay, so hope it helps and answers all the questions. We don't have any more questions, and we will be waiting for just 2 more minutes. If anyone has any questions,
No,
they can
sure.
put up. And by the time, I just want to thank you, Aishwarya, for your time and for presenting this topic to us in so simple language. And I hope it helps all, it helped all the people around here.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Harshita, for inviting me for this session. And I got a lot of, this is such awesome response, and a lot of people are interested in learning, and you guys have been, sitting throughout the session. Thank you so much for that. And I love the questions that I'm getting here.
Right, right. Okay. We have questions that which course is best to learn digital content marketing and strategy?
Okay, like I'm not the best person to tell which course is better, because I'm not sure which is best when it comes to the field. But maybe if you could text me, I have some friends who are in this field who could, like, they learn through the online medium, so I can help you. Like, I learned all these things when I was like 4 years back, and I often use YouTube and other blogs and stuff. I read stuff. That is how I do. But I haven't taken any course on that. So if you could text me after the session is over, I'll ask my friend and let you know if there is some course that is best for digital content marketing and strategies.
Sure. And if possible, Aishwarya, you can put up your LinkedIn link here and people can contact you directly if they have
Yeah.
any more questions. Right? We will take just one last question for today. How do you pitch to unicorns?
Okay. So since unicorns are, here, this is like when you're pitching to unicorns, you have to make sure that you are very clear with your purpose. Like, why are you pitching, and like, do they need your service, and how can you help them? Just because you are a writer and just because we need some high ticket clients, like, if you pitch to them, you will not be getting the response, or you'll not be attaining them as a client. You have to be very unique in your purpose. Like, you have to personalize your pitch. That is the very crucial step that you have to do do your research about them before you pitching to them. Do your research about them, like visit their social media platforms, visit their websites, see how they are doing, and what, like, you can see what type of questions their audience are asking and how they are replying, and you can actually, analyze their audience persona and what they are trying to do, and start personalizing your pitch. You have to personalize. That is a very crucial, like, it can be a unicorn, or even it can be a small client, or whatever, whoever you're approaching to. Try to personalize your email, try to personalize your message. That is when you will be like remembered by these people, and you will get an instant, reply. Try to make it very unique and do your research. Only when you do your research, you will be able to understand what they're requiring, and you'll be able to, get a reply from them, and then you can take it from there.
Right. Okay, so hope it answers the question. And on this note, I would like to end this session.
Okay.
Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Aishwarya.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Yeah, thank you everyone. And Sneha says, can we have your content? I have actually added my LinkedIn link above. You guys can, go ahead and message me there. And for Instagram, my profile name is Marketing Aish, and I'm active like on pretty both of the platforms. So if you have any questions, again, you can go ahead and ask them. This is my Instagram profile. So thanks a lot, Harshita, first of all, for inviting me this session. And this session is wonderful, and these people are like, I'm so happy to be like on this session, especially on my birthday. And thanks a lot for your wishes. A lot of people wished me in the start. Thanks a lot for your wishes.
Thank you so much, Aishwarya, for our time. It means a lot to me that you are here on your birthday, and hope you enjoy after going from this. And yeah,
Yeah.
this was a birthday gift from our side to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you everyone for staying till the last, and we will meet in the next session soon. Thank you everyone, and have a good day. Stay safe and be at home. Yeah. Bye bye everyone.